Good afternoon, friends, or good evening, or good morning. Here we are with another of Gord's Poetry Show interviews. It's been a while. The computer has not been cooperating, and mainly my fault as usual. And today, here in late September of 2025, I'm talking to the distinguished poet and editor and memoirist and art critic and any number of other accomplishments, Molly Peacock. And here we are, and we are going to chat. So, Molly, let me start off having read some of your poetry and your tastes and your emphasis. What do you think of poets like John Ashbery and Wallace Stevens?
Oh, well, I don't write like either of them, and neither of them are role models for me. No. But I love Stevens' work.
Yes.
And I'm friendly with John Ashbery's work.
Yes.
I mean, they're both poets of great imagination and real linguistic talent. So there's, they both have their passion and their virtuosity, and I can admire them.
Yes.
I'm not in the same school by any means.
Of course, yes.
But the wonderful thing about being a poet over time and thinking about poetry over time is that you can value poems that are not the kinds of poems that you yourself would write. And realize that you're in sort of a great extended family of poets over time.
Yes, indeed.
With different predilections, different kinds of aesthetics, and the kind of infighting that can go on among poets and schools of poetry, all of that sort of stuff. I mean, for me, over time, has simply faded. And
yes.
Also, editing the best Canadian poetry, teaching poetry for many, many years, not in a university, although I have done that. But it was my main job. Let me read really widely and also really narrowly. I mean, I just whatever I wanted. And so it's I'm happy to think about Wallace Stevens' late work, like the first light of evening, just those lines. Think about both of those poets have wonderful, wonderful imagery throughout their poems, and a lot of formal impulses. So I can attach to them, even though I never looked to either one of them really as an influence.
Right. So in terms of experimenters with language, radical experimenters with language, and when I'm reading Ashbery on one of my videos that go up on Facebook or Instagram, I will say to the imagined audience, treat this as music. Don't try to understand it. Enjoy the flow of the words. And although myself, I do have these moments where I think I know what John Ashbery's actually talking about, the joy of the music of the language is paramount for me.
And you're also drifting on his imagination. You have to enter the poem. You have to enter his imagination. And there is a reluctance on the part of certain readers to enter into an imagination that's deeply foreign from their own. My own impulse is toward clarity.
Yes.
And complexity. I believe they coexist. And what I want, part of what I want to achieve in a poem is a sense of a complex world that I can speak about with clarity. And I don't think all poets really care whether they're understood in that way. But I care a lot about whether I'm understood. And which might, I'm not exactly sure where that comes from completely, but it's, I know that it does have its roots in my own endless searches for understanding, beginning as a small child, just trying to figure out the world around me. And I think if you grow up with a clear sense of the world around you, then being obscure is, it's a path out of things that are known entirely too well. But the world around me was so nutty that just trying to figure it out, well, that was a big goal of mine.
Yes, I understand. And if anyone watching doesn't understand, you need to read Paradise Piece by Piece, because the evocation of the chaos of a dysfunctional family is remarkable.
Thank you.
Remarkable, really. I'm not kidding you.
That's the clarity and complexity. I really wanted to replicate that chaos so that people could enter into it.
Yes.
But also at the same time, not make it so uncomfortable for them, but still be inside it.
You threw in some very humorous episodes as well, which I won't even go into here, but you guys should read it, because there's lots of funny stuff in there as well. Really.
And the thing is, funny things happen.
Yeah.
I mean, even in tragic circumstances,
yes,
or
they do.
complex or chaotic circumstances, funny stuff happens. And that's another thing about clarity, is if you want to include all of the different kinds of emotional tones, then you can include these oddball, goofy things that happen and incorporate them. They're part of the landscape of the world you're creating.
I agree.
And also, I mean, what's more rescuing than having a sense of humor?
Oh, it's the best. Absolutely the best. It's, what would we do without Monty Python's Flying Circus?
Well, that actually isn't my kind of humor.
Oh, I see.
I mean, I can appreciate it, but
Right.
that falls into the John Ashbery category.
Oh, I
for
see.
me.
I see.
I guess I'm talking about
Is
more
it
of a kind
too
of
British?
domestic humor.
I see.
But
Well-
yes, absolutely. I can't tell a joke. I'm not but I have an appreciative sense of humor. I guess I would say.
Yes, you do. I was wondering, your both memoirs talk about your early days as a poet, post-college, New York, sending things to magazines. Were you at that point, I didn't notice any references, not at all influenced by the Beat Generation poets?
Well, interestingly, I graduated from high school in 1965. I graduated from university in 1969. I didn't go to graduate school until 1976. So there was a gap in there, and the Beats, for me, weren't an influence.
I didn't think so.
I mean, I just, as a young working class girl in a state university, I looked at those guys and I thought, ick. I don't want to have anything to do with you guys. And also, it was all guys. I mean, there were a few women around the fringes, but and basically fucking their way through lots and lots of young women. And I thought, oh no, I'm totally not doing that. Or I mean, certainly someone like Allen Ginsberg was a great figure, but he was admired by all these kind of jerky guys I knew, and I thought, and what do I mean by, even though later on I came to much admire Allen Ginsberg, and we both used the same post office.
Nice.
We both had post office boxes on East 14th Street in Manhattan, and we had conversations, and they were almost never about poetry. But I am actually a huge appreciator of Allen, and recently reread Howl just because I was moving a lot of books around, and there it was, and I thought, I'm just going to take a look at this again. So in the same way as I've gotten older, more, with a wider horizon in terms of poetry, I can appreciate those writers. But at the time, I was not looking for that. I was looking I wanted to be a serious poet who could do serious, formal things in poetry and be treated seriously, both as a working class, with somebody with a working class background. Someone called me a low new formalist, and someone with a desire to write about contemporary situations, but in a classical way. And because I wanted to be taken seriously, and I didn't know, the sort of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll aspect of the beats. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that was either gay sex, or sort of sexist sex.
Yes.
Kind of using you type sex.
Yes.
And then the drugs part of it, I ran in the other direction.
Yes.
Because I had a dad who was a serious alcoholic, and sorry about my phone.
Okay.
I'll turn it off.
That's fine.
It's going to go away now.
Yes, your father was quite a challenge.
And my sister was seriously into drugs and became a heroin addict.
Yes, I understand.
So I was around, and I was around a lot of drugs and people who medicated themselves with drugs. And what I wanted was to be able to have a clear mind, a clear head, not to walk into a room where all these people are sort of all drugged out, flopping all over the floor. To me, these scenes were ugly.
Yes.
And the Lower East Side was ugly. I know that for other people, it was a great liberation. Suddenly they leapt out of their suburban houses and encountered imaginative excitement. But for me, I thought, this is a way to self-destruction.
Yes.
And a way to destroying all the people around you. And I have to say, I still have a tremendous prejudice against it, and I'm very unsympathetic to it. I have to caution myself, that I don't have to have such a violent reaction to it. But
well, I've read the memoir. I understand the incredibly bad, crazy behavior of both your father and your sister.
Yeah.
And it has to be seen to be believed, but or read to be believed. And I didn't experience those extremities myself. minor sort of inebriation at home and family, and minor explorations of marijuana and hashish in the 70s.
And I mean, I did those things then.
But I never knew anybody that did heroin. No, ever.
Yeah.
And I never knew anybody that knew anybody. You know, we led this sort of, sort of countrified hippie life.
Yes.
And I remember
maybe
the magazine.
Maybe you could call it like that sort of soft hippiness.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to hard.
Yeah, very much in, health foods and growing vegetables if you could do it.
That's right. I'm into all that. I'm
building
into health
domes,
foods and growing my own vegetables.
But let's face it, in my mind, in the early 70s, the best cultural and political reporting was in Rolling Stone. I read it obsessively. And they faded away from that. They turned into an entertainment magazine. But in their classic years, as a Canadian sitting up here, that's how I found out about American culture.
Oh, yeah.
You read Ramparts, you read Harper's, that sort of thing. But for a few years, they were the main conduit, and they did publish a little bit of literature, not much. But that was how I came to understand, well, the violence of American culture, all that rioting and shooting and burning. I came from a 60s Britain where all we did was celebrate the new Beatles and the new Rolling Stones album.
Yes, well, I mean, I celebrated those too. I loved them. But
I do get what you're saying when you read the deep background of their social lives and the poverty and the terrible living situations in, as you say, the Lower East Side. It's quite shocking. And you sort of feel like this little bourgeois ninny that's not experienced anything, because, you led a sort of a fairly normal life. And
I don't know, Gordon. Now take a look at us. Who would you say led the more normal life?
Oh, you for sure.
That just by looking at me.
Yeah.
But I would say that many of my impulses are far more radical than I look.
Oh, they are.
But I mean, for sure, the decisions
the
that I've made in my life and how I've gone about doing it. Mm-hmm. But also, I like to look what I would have thought of when I was maybe 15 or 16 years old as a quote unquote normal person.
Yes.
Because I valued that since it was so absent in my life. And I also valued at a young age a certain kind of sophistication that was, and that appealed to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you talk about your early days in New York, getting established and teaching at the school, and developing your friendship with Phyllis, you do seem like a very young New York lady, Because you talk about fashion and food and, which is fine by me. I like to eat too. And one always can appreciate coming from a small town, the kind of great, nifty variety of food that you're going to get in little New York restaurants. We all know about that.
Yes. Well,
and you make that come alive,
What Gordon is talking about is a book that I wrote a couple of years ago called A Friend Sails In on a Poem.
Ah, yes, lovely book. Yes.
And this book, which was published by Palimpsest Press here in Canada, examines a more than 50-year friendship that I've had with the American poet Phyllis Levin. And Phyllis and I met in graduate school at the Johns Hopkins University writing seminars and have ever since exchanged just about, not all, but just about every poem that we've written. And I wrote A Friend Sails In on a Poem because I thought this is an unusual relationship.
Yes, it is. Indeed.
And that has lasted for so long. And I'm interested in friendship, and
Mm-hmm.
even though we've talked about my background, my mother had lifelong friends.
Mm-hmm.
She was a wonderful, wonderful modeler of friendships that grow and change and are forgiving of one another over
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think of, I mean, there are some wonderful poetry friendships, notably Maxine Cumin
Mm-hmm.
and Anne Sexton.
Yes. Yes.
And there are certainly there are Canadian friendships and Canadian circles of poets.
Mm-hmm.
I just think of maybe somebody like Lorna Crozier and Susan Musgrave, who
Yes. Yes.
corresponded with one another and hung out with one another, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to explore that with a little bit and make a small book. It's a little book. Where's the copy of it?
Which one is this?
It's right over there. We've got a whole pile of my books here. We're in my dining room, and of course, I'm not sure whether this shows backwards or not.
We'll just have to watch later.
But it's a little book. It's not a great big compendium.
But it's full of interesting poetic and social detail.
Because we both, when we were young, wanted to be in New York. We moved to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Phyllis lived in the Village. I lived uptown, and we began to be, well, we were always serious about our poetry since we were very young, even though we're from very different backgrounds. But I think that was, a time in our lives when we were both serious and ambitious. And part of the book is how we figured things out, and also what we did together. And largely, we met in restaurants.
Right,
and
I noticed that.
Shared food.
Yeah.
And then shared our poems. So we had a table in front of us about this. Often these are little tables in little restaurants, often like the size of a couple of pieces of paper. You know what I mean? So that's the dimensions.
Yes.
And we're talking about poetry and forming our own aesthetics, which are to some degree similar, but not by any means the same. I mean, we're quite different poets.
Yes,
and
that's obvious in the book.
Yeah, I quote our poems in the book, and there are a few. I think there are 9 poems from each one of us, so it isn't a huge. It isn't a huge selection, and they often bear on friendship or some key moment in our lives.
They do.
And that, so for me, New York was a place of aesthetic development. I didn't understand my own Canadian roots until I actually moved to Canada.
Yes. I recall that from your book too.
And that was because this is a Canadian interview, and even though you started off with American poets, I think it's important to say that we are we're in Canada. We are on the land of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee and the Mississaugas of the Credit River, and we're in a different place. It's a different place than the New York of my youth.
Of course.
And it was only coming here that I really realized that, gee, I have one Canadian grandmother and one American grandmother. I was closer to the American grandmother.
Yes.
Because my parents were divorced, and my Canadian grandmother was my dad's mother. But as I sort of think back into my own childhood and into these personalities and into this family that constantly moved back and forth between the Niagara region of Canada and the Niagara region of the United States, when there weren't, nobody had to show a passport, people just floated back and forth.
Those were the days. Those were the days.
Very, very pre 9/11, shall we say.
Absolutely.
That I'm much more attached to my Canadian roots and my Canadian existence, and to a certain degree, a Canadian impulse, because I feel that in the United States, often the writer sticks to one genre.
Oh, yes.
And in Canada, writers are genre fluid, often writing poetry and novels or imaginative fiction or nonfiction. And I'm not a novelist, but I've certainly written quite a bit of prose. I'm a memoirist and a biographer. And I don't think that I would have written that, those big prose books without a sense that I could.
Yes.
I could. I wasn't somehow jumping categories. Those categories weren't. They weren't as fenced in.
I see. And in America, if you decided to write about a 19th century artist that suddenly interested you, would publishers have pushed you back and say, no, you're a poet, you can't do that?
Well, I know that I feel very, very fortunate that W.W. Norton is my poetry publisher. I'm extremely proud to be on that list. But I think that Norton thinks of itself as my poetry publisher.
Yes.
My prose books I have published with other publishers.
Right.
And they've been appropriate for those publishers, because I've written 2 illustrated biographies. One, Flower Diary, about Mary Heaster Reid, a Canadian painter who was one of the first women who actually was able to be married and have a successful career as a painter.
That's an important point there.
That was a big deal, a big deal.
Yeah.
And then going back 100-odd years before that, I wrote The Paper Garden. Mrs. Delaney begins her life's work at 72, and that is about the British 18th century collage artist Mary Delaney, who was doing botanical collage centuries before many art history books say that Picasso and Matisse invented collage in the 20th century. So there was this woman who was doing this in the time of King George and Queen Charlotte.
That's quite an amazing discovery in itself, Mary. I mean, really it is. How did you come across her work?
I came across her work in the 1980s when I was teaching at Friends Seminary School.
That's the one I was thinking of, the Friends.
In Manhattan, because that's kind of another story. I didn't have a university teaching job. I taught 7th grade, and I taught learning disabled students, not at a different time.
Yes.
So, and one weekend, and I spent my weekends in museums, and one weekend I went to the Morgan Library, and there was a show of Mary Delaney's work.
I see.
And
cool.
I was supposed to be with a friend at MoMA looking at modernist work, and I cut out from that and went to go look at these so-called fussy, small, intricate artworks created by what in the 18th century would have been known as an amateur. I mean, when amateurism was a perfectly okay thing to engage in.
Yes.
And I mean, she did 985 of them. I mean, I wouldn't call that amateurish at all.
That's a lot.
But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Whoa. She had an incredible body of work from the ages of 72 to 88. Super amazing, serious art. And I thought, how does this happen? How does it happen that somebody invents an art form, botanical collage, at an advanced age? That's your age now.
I know. I'm very pleased that she's starting her career at 72. Very pleased.
And many, many other people have been too. I mean, she gives a person hope. And I loved writing that book, even though I was terrified the whole time. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
And wept and, flopped around and laid on my therapist's couch saying, why am I doing this? And happily, I was married to Michael Grodin, who was an extremely well-known James Joyce scholar.
Yes.
And a very an active and deeply trained scholar of James Joyce, but also so comfortable in the land of research. He even wrote an essay called "The Case of the Snuffed Footnote."
That's a good one. I like that. The snuffed footnote.
And there he was, and I would be having my volcanic nervous breakdowns, and he would say, "Okay, Molly, here, let's do this," and he would help me, and he would say, "Okay, let's look at it this way. Why don't you approach this digging that you're doing for these facts in this way?" Because he was so experienced and also so relaxed about it. And I was hysteric. I am hysteric.
That's quite an admission.
I'm a happy hysteric.
Oh, good.
Hysterics. I am a person who loves to feel all of my emotions, the full palette of my emotions. And he was a person who loved to narrow. I mean, if we were both painters, he would use a black and white palette with some grays in it, and I would I'd have the full colors. But I really needed his sensibility, and he really was very, very helpful. He taught me how to do this work. I would never have done it if I hadn't been living with a scholar.
I see.
And so, and I'm, very grateful for really, I mean, his modeling. He modeled how to do it. And I'm grateful that publishers took a chance on these books, and I'm deeply grateful for their success and for the fact that they brought to people's attention the work of two amazing women artists from the past. So, and also their books about relationships and about creativity and how people manage to live creative lives.
They're fascinating. I've only read the one about Mary Hester Reed.
Oh yes, Flower Diary.
Flower Diary.
Next in the pile there.
Which I really enjoyed and would recommend to anybody that wants to enter another world where creative people express themselves without a whole lot of public response, but still keep going at it. God bless them,
But they did. I mean, Mary used to read, and her husband. They were very well reviewed.
Yes. Were they? Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yes. Oh, so absolutely. They were well known. And George Reed was quite well known in his day. And he.
Well, that's right. He was the famous one.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the famous one. But she didn't do too badly herself.
Oh, good.
So.
But you make a point about scholarship, and I'm totally with you on that. Even though various types of poetic expression is not really reliant on scholarship; it's more spontaneous emotion, recollected in tranquility. But
or not.
For example, I read the journal, the monthly journal, History Today, and historians write about various aspects of history in different countries, in different eras, and it's all great scholarship. And every time I open the darn thing, I feel like I'm learning something.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's about Greece or, Turkey or, Britain in the 1850s or whatever.
It's wonderful.
And it's all scholarship.
Things.
It's all people that are, doing scholarship all the time and have learned. In order to reach a general audience, you have to kind of write a little better, and they figured it out, and it's very interesting and entertaining. So I'm totally with you on scholarship on that. There's always a place for it. And you talk about Michael and James Joyce. I'll never forget coming across at the Arundel College Library years ago a book of Joyce's things that he didn't use in his books, and it was called Scribbledy Hobble.
Oh, yes.
And it's all this marvelous sort of wordplay. It just goes on and on and on. I don't think any of it wound up on Finnegan's Wake. None of it. And you just see this endless fountain flow of creativity, like water rushing down a waterfall. And if scholars hadn't put that together, we'd never know about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I feel the same about Dylan Thomas, the scholars that have published the early drafts of poems, and being a Dylan Thomas nut, it's the same thing. And it extends to all levels of artistic creativity, the fine arts, the music. I love, people that do research on not Joseph Haydn, but somebody that lived at the same time and wasn't nearly as famous. I love that stuff. And you just find out more about the world back then, and then you go, Jesus, not that different. If you were if you were a junior partner to Haydn, you're kind of like, like not that well known, but doing the work. You're kind of like a guy that really likes rock and roll, but can't get anywhere near where Bruce Springsteen is. But you keep doing it for the love of it.
Of course.
So you see all these parallels, which I think are important to understand the flow of creativity within an evolving society.
And I think you're absolutely right. And when you start, sort of living in another century, as you have to do if you're a historical biographer, then you realize how decades just collapse.
That's a good one. I like that.
And there you are in the 1880s, and you have commerce with everything that's going on in the 1880s, connected, to your humanity, but also to things, objects, time, clothes, food, smells, all of the things that you don't think you know, but once you kind of get in, it's all familiar, and you can go back another century, and I was shocked at how easy it was for me to swim in the 18th century.
Yes.
I thought, oh, this is going to be too hard, and I fell into the sensibility and also into the fact that people don't always think the same. People did not think about their lives in the same way that we think about our lives. So there are these major differences, but also just that sense of another human being in a body, just like anybody's body.
Yes.
With all of those limitations and pleasures and joys.
Well, I see we're up to 40 minutes on this episode, so I think we'll pause this discussion, upload it, and get back to part 2 in a little while after we've had some refreshments. Yeah?
Thank you very much, Gordon.
You're welcome.
Wonderful questions, and I'm so glad to be talking with you.
Thank you. Me too. And we'll be back soon, although when you see all this on YouTube, there won't be a back soon. It'll just all be there. So thank you, and we'll talk later.